Good evening and welcome to the Lower Makefield Township Park and Recreation meeting for February 2024. Our first order of business is roll call. On the line, we have Mike Blundy, Michael Brody, and Dennis Wysocki are virtual. Here with me is Rob Labar, myself, Doug Kraus, and our Township Director of Park and Rec, Monica Tierney. Good evening. The first order of business is our reorganization, since we didn't get to do that in January due to bad weather. So we'll start with the chair. Do I hear any nominations for the chairmanship position?
I nominate Douglas Kraus.
Second.
Any other nominations? I guess I will accept the nomination of chair. Thank you.
We have to vote on it.
You can vote. I accept it, but you can vote. So do you vote on my acceptance? All in favor of Doug Kraus as the chair, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
And I put president on the agenda, so
Is
I guess that's a promotion. I don't know.
Promotion?
So you're chair.
Presidente.
Is that all it takes? Because I'll submit him for that also.
You get a typo.
Do I get better benefits or something, a pension or something? All
Brand
right.
new one.
Vice Chair, open the floor for nominations for Vice Chair.
Who's our current vice chair?
Michael Brody.
Mike Brody.
I nominate Michael Brody.
I'll second.
Second. All right. Any discussion? None. Mike, are you good with that, Michael?
Thank you. I'm honored. Appreciate it.
Okay. All in favor of Michael Brody as Vice Chair for 2024, please say aye.
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 All right. And then for Secretary, I believe the current Secretary is Kim.
I nominate
Not on
Kim.
the- She's not on the line yet, but we haven't have any nominations for Secretary.
I nominate Kim Rock.
I'll second.
Other nominations? All in favor of Kim Rock for Secretary, please say
Assuming
aye.
Kim wants to do it, I vote aye.
Aye.
So it was a big shakeup this year.
All right.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
All right. Next order of business is approval of meeting minutes. We have to do each one individually. So we'll start with October 24th, 2023. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes? Rob's make a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? None. So call for vote. All in favor of approval of the October meeting minutes of 2023, please say aye.
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 All right. The second meeting minutes is November 14th, 2023. We have a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
So moved. Second, I'll
Second.
second it. Any discussion? None. All in favor of approval of the November 14th meeting minutes, please say aye.
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 That was
And
so moved by Mike Brody for the note taker.
For the note taker. Okay.
For the I forget her name. Sorry.
And we just need a motion then to approve the December 12th, 2023 meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, second, I'll second that. Any discussion? None? You can vote. Monica says you can vote. All in favor of the approval of the December 12th, 2023 meeting minutes? Please say aye.
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 All right, that takes care of the meeting minutes, and we'll move on to the next agenda item is Lucas, you are here. You are our scout, right? Oh, and you have Mr. Helferty with you too. Nice, welcome. When you come up, just everybody should have your information, but I don't, Monica, are you sharing anything on the screen, the PowerPoint? Not set up to do that, okay. Yeah, just if you turn on the mics and then state your name, address, and then, all right, Lucas, floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Lucas. Again, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak. I live at sorry.
Your time, relax.
1408 Westover Road, Yardley. I'm here to present my my Eagle plan. I'm going to be building a 16 by 16 viewing platform on a meadow that we're going to clear in 5 Mile Woods, 100 by 100 feet.
Did you guys get,
We did get the
Yes,
pack,
they have all of your
All right,
slides.
good.
Yep.
so we have the materials. Yep.
so there's an area within 5 Mile Woods that has always been open. It doesn't have a treed canopy, but it's slowly been growing in and getting shrubbier and shrubbier, what's the proper word there? Shrubbier. A lot of multiflora rose, privet hedge, a lot of invasive, alien species. So it's a huge undertaking to clear that, and Lucas has agreed to take that on.
Yes. So what this is going to do is because of that, this viewing platform is going to be ADA compliant, meaning that it's suitable for disabled people. It's going to make the woods accessible for people in wheelchairs and disabled people in general. And the meadow, because 5 Mile Woods is right now just mostly wood, it creates not much diversity. And after clearing the meadow and planting wilderflower seed, which is not going to be part of my project, but will be done eventually, it's going to create a much more diverse environment where lots of more small animals, different new types of plants and insects are going to be able to live in this area.
Well, I have your slides up now so they can see, everybody can see. Just so you tell me where you want me to be.
No, that's good. The map that Lucas created, he created all these himself. The map that Lucas created shows where this meadow area will be. It's right near the entrance to the preserved trail system. And as I think you're already aware, we are separately embarking on a huge ADA trail improvement project where we're building a little over 700 linear feet of boardwalk. Lucas picked up on that right away, and we started talking about this area when we were having some of our meetings. And in that, we will already be facilitating ADA access along the 700 linear feet of boardwalk. This presented an opportunity to piggyback off of that project, create something, as Lucas already mentioned, that is, will be handicapped accessible. Lucas was very interested in planting seeds right away. And I had to slow that effort down a little bit because we're going to need to do some significant weed control and invasive species control. And the way you typically do that when you're restoring a meadow, we discussed this already, is to put down black tarp, like black plastic tarping for possibly 2 or 3 months even, depends on the time of the year and the temperatures that we get. But if we can do that, that will set the stage for a proper planting and an effective planting. And unfortunately, that amount of time doesn't mesh well with Lucas's Eagle Scout plans. And to be honest, he's biting off, in my humble opinion, a lot as it is. So that's the reason why it won't be planted right away, as he noted.
I had a quick, very impressed that you created that map yourself. I just had a quick question so based on where the ADA trail is going, right? Is this at the end? Is it somewhere in between? So just, I don't know where the trails, like, I don't know the color coding, like, is that which I don't have it in front of me. So maybe you can just point out for everybody, where's the ADA trail? Where's your if you want to get up and point to that might work out too.
It's the
Yeah. Yes, it's
point to it if you want. I think
where I'm going to be building this platform is this little square.
Okay.
Right? And this trail right here is going to be the ADA platform, so it's going to run right against this the meadow, where you can access the viewing platform.
So it's towards it's the end of the trail then somewhat?
The beginning.
Oh, it's the beginning of
beginning
it.
of the trail.
It's right near the beginning of that trail that we will be building. It's
Okay.
about 100 feet in.
100 feet in,
and-
okay.
And this is also a project that will likely benefit from further Scout participation, Eagle Scout candidate participation. There will be opportunities to sort of build off of what Lucas will get started with the main effort to create some additional access ways and connection ways from this viewing platform.
So I had a couple real quick questions. The area where this is going to go, is that solid ground and this will just be on top of the ground, or are there footers that are going to be put down to secure it, or how is that going to be?
It's a good question and probably one I'll take because it's so overgrown now. We haven't been in to literally, test any conditions right where the platform will be. If you explain really quickly just how it will be built, it's proposed to rest at grade. We don't believe it'll require any footers.
Okay.
If that is deemed to be necessary, once we uncover the site and we see the actual conditions, it'll be a quick modification. But if you want to quickly explain in super basic terms, just how that's built, it'll maybe give a better picture of what the end result will be.
This is going to be built on, I believe I'm going to have to raise it slightly. But it's going to be basically built in 4 sections, which once we bring them over to the cleared meadow, are going to be attached together to create the full platform. But yes, it's going to be, I believe I am going to have to raise it a few feet, inches.
Yeah, we use pressure treated lumber, or I recommend Scouts do as well. You still don't ever like to have that just sitting in wet conditions if you can help it. So this will be framed out with pressure treated 2x6s is what we usually recommend, and that's what we talked about when we met recently. So it'll basically look like the boardwalking that we make, except instead of being, in the case of the ADA boardwalk that we're building, that they'll be either 5 or 6 foot wide sections by 12 foot sections that you then piece together. What Lucas will be doing, he just mentioned, he'll be building 4 different 8x8 squares. The 8x8 makes sense because it's the length of dimensional lumber. He'll be building that mostly on site. Might be able to frame them off site and bring them in, but they'll be 8x8 kind of very standard looking boardwalks, just like we make for the boardwalk trails themselves. These will just be 8x8 squares all bolted together. So at the end, the 4 pieces together make it 16 by 16. Also not depicted, but we talked about the curbing. Do you want to just mention that? super
Oh,
quick?
yes. I'm going to be building onto this along the edges of the boardwalk. There's going to be a 3-inch tall curbing to
That's compliant with the ADA guidelines for making sure that wheelchairs and other, mobility enabling devices don't slip off an edge. Because again, because this will be framed with 2x6s plus some decking on top, the surface of the platform will be, maybe 8-10 inches when all is said and done, especially if some areas, we don't even know if it's level yet. So one corner may be a little bit higher than other corners if the ground isn't level, and we'll have to, block that up somehow, or maybe use a footer of some sort.
No ramp was required from the
It-
ADA trail to this boardwalk, or it could possibly require?
So for starters, what Lucas is doing is just the viewing platform. And there's about a 20 or 30 foot gap between that and the ADA trails that we're already building.
Okay,
For starters, we're just going to have that be a dirt path it's just a step up. So it won't be, as soon as it's completed, it won't be ADA compliant like instantly,
okay.
but it's ADA ready. And then a second Boy Scout or the Friends of 5 Mile Woods or township staff, once we're done with the big project and we find out how much material and lumber we have, we may be able to just do that ourselves super quickly. I'm already getting feelers from other scouts that are looking for project work, so it's something that I can offer to them. So it will come together quickly, and it will ultimately not require a ramp. It'll just be a continuation of, there'll be a Y in the boardwalk, is what we talked about. He's just doing the end of where that Y is going to lead to.
So the game plan down the future would be another boardwalk coming up that would butt up to this and lag bolt in and be flat, one whole thing there.
Very, very quickly thereafter. And we'll talk about finances in a minute, and you'll understand maybe why Lucas isn't doing like
Oh, no,
all of the different things.
trust me, I'm impressed with the 16 by 16, let alone
No,
the other
I didn't
things.
think
so,
that warranted explaining, but it's an impressive thing.
Yeah.
Is somebody speaking?
Is somebody talking there?
Yeah, take the mic with you.
Sorry about that. Hopefully that's better.
Yeah.
There'll be an opportunity to create a trail from the handicap boardwalk that we do to Lucas's platform. That'll happen very quickly. It'll probably happen before midsummer is the way I'm looking at it. There'll then be an opportunity, depending upon my plans for the beginning of this trail over here, which goes to a classroom area. I'm also interested in improving that, time and money and effort pending, and then continuing and access to the platform on the other side of the platform. We'll almost make like a little loop that handicap people could do right there. As it is right now, though, the plans are just to have handicap people be able to come all the way in to the bog area. And then once we do this second step of Lucas's project, once we connect there, people can also come into a 16 by 16 viewing platform. Everything but the entranceway will be curbed, so you can't fall off it. And they could just go out there and hopefully very soon, once we get it planted, enjoy a really nice meadow, like a wildflower meadow situation.
Yes. All right. So the major tasks in my project are first going to be starting a GoFundMe, because you want to have that done pretty early in the process of this project to make sure you have enough funding once you actually do start the physical part of it. I'm going to need to. The second major step is going to be arrange to use a truck from my uncle or a trailer from a scout parent for equipment. There's going to be a lot of very heavy equipment operated by adults, so I'm going to definitely need a truck for that. Which shouldn't be a problem, but
Gonna need to rent a mechanical brush hog, basically.
I'm going to need to rent the necessary equipment, again, the brush hog and such, and I'll carry out a work weekend to clear the brush, a work weekend to clear the meadow, and once I've procured the materials from lumber yards and hardware stores, I'm going to be building the platform, and that's where the larger project that's going to be taking place in 5 Mile Woods, which is going to be other scouts, is going to really begin, and that's really it.
No, I think that's probably.
For fundraising, my primary source of funding is going to be GoFundMe that my dad will set up. And I'm going to have additional sources of funding, such as selling, having scouts, recruiting scouts to chop wood to sell. I'm going to be attempting to ask local environmental groups for donations. I'm going to be asking lumber yards for donations of lumber or equipment. And this should, even though this is a more costly project, that I should have more than enough money after all this. I'm expecting to start March 15th. I'm going to be my GoFundMe is going to be set up beginning of March to make sure I have enough money beforehand. And I expect to end around June 15th, which is ending right when the black tarp it would be the best time to lay it down. Yes, thank you. Sorry. I believe my project is going to have a great impact on the environment of this area and the community.
Yeah, some of this was relevant to his scout presentation too, less maybe for you folks, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited about it because in the Guide for Preservation for 5 Mile Woods, when the property was originally preserved in 1980, there actually were some existing fields out there, and there was an intent in the original Guide for Preservation to keep them in a field state, because it is a diversity of habitat types, as Lucas mentioned early in his presentation. Obviously, the amount of invertebrates, butterflies, pollinators like bees and whatnot that you could attract to a wildflower field or a meadow are, much different species, much different, just diversity there. And the same would be expected to be true for bird species. You'll get birds that'll come to a meadow that don't necessarily, inhabit forest areas. So it's really going to bring back into condition a habitat type that had formerly existed in 5 Mile Woods, but just over the last 30 or 40 or so years has just slowly succeeded out of meadow state. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be something that Lucas, thanks to his generosity and his anticipated hard efforts, is going to set in motion, and then we'll have to maintain. Meadows are not, you don't just walk away from them. You have to maintain them, and we've talked about that, and I've agreed to take that role on with other resources that I have available to us, not only within the township, but continued scout involvement and other volunteer involvement. So I think it's definitely a doable project, and it's going to be really exciting to see how it comes to fruition.
Just want to make sure, Mike or Dennis, do you have any questions for Lucas?
No.
Are you using the black tarp? Is the black tarp basically the mechanism and method for clearing the area?
No, I'm going to be using a brush hog to clear the area. All the brush. It's the black tarp is going to be killing the roots and basically baking the roots during the summer to make sure that they don't grow back.
Yeah, I was unclear on the question, but I think you nailed it.
Your mic on or off?
I think
It's on. Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Yeah, the black tarp will not only preclude weed seeds that start germinating from being able to photosynthesize, so they'll not be able to survive for that reason alone. But then the early midsummer temperatures will also bake the soil and kill off some weed seeds as well that haven't germinated. So it's a very effective way to do prep for a meadow planting.
And do you then remove it, or do you actually put topsoil on top of that, leave that as a weed suppressor?
Again, unclear on the question a little bit, but I think,
Tarp stay, or do you remove it?
okay, so Lucas's role will be to cut the vegetation as close to the ground as is possible mechanically. Then we'll tarp it for a period of 2 to 3 months, maybe, might need to be that long. Then that is removed. Tarp is removed. The black tarp is removed. It'll be a thick black plastic tarp, which will be, not the most attractive thing, but it's a necessary, thing to have there for a little while. And then once that is removed, we may need to follow up with some, if there's any roots that need to be removed. Lucas's team may be able to do some of that. We may need to follow up after we pull the black tarp. And then there's a number of different ways you can seed a meadow, and those are the things that we tackle, separately from Lucas's project. But there's right and wrong ways to do that as well, and we will obviously do our due diligence there. Same with seeds. I can procure seeds from Bowman's. I can procure seeds from a number of reputable sources online, and we haven't fleshed all those details out yet because, again, that's a couple months out.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if no other questions, anybody want to make a motion to approve?
I would
I'll
move.
make a motion to approve the Scout project to build a platform inside as offered.
Second.
Second, any other additional questions?
I just wanted to tell him I thought he did a really nice job, and congratulations on doing that.
Any public comment? One question from the public. Come up and state your name. And
Just listening to this.
Microphone.
When you do your reseeding project, you assume you want to be as close to nature as possible. So I want to make sure that you don't use any artificial chemicals or fertilizers in that area, because that would change the balance significantly. And that's not what we want. You want to make it natural. And you say you're using the seeds from the local area, nothing artificial.
I think, his project, he's not,
I know he's
He's
doing
not
the
doing
board,
this.
but I want to make sure that.
Yeah, I mean, I can answer that. We will be sure that we not only do all of those things, but one thing that a lot of people don't always understand is also considered is making sure that the seeds that you procure for a project are genetically suitable to the plant species in your area. And so if you're dealing with a reputable seed source like Bowman's or the other, it's been a while since I've looked into them, but there's a great native plant facility in New Jersey. Why am I forgetting the name of it? But it's a good source. So
Yeah, that was my.
those factors will all be taken into consideration.
Yeah, that's an awesome platform. Just also worried about maintenance and long-term addressing that. So you've taken care of that.
Yeah, we don't even like using herbicides in 5 Mile Woods. That's how gentle we try to be with the environment. Sometimes there's a need, but we do so only when necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate your question.
any other questions? All right, all in favor? Please
Aye.
say
Aye.
All right, Lucas, looking
Thank you.
forward to seeing the project. Keep Monica updated, check in with her, and hopefully send some pictures, and we'll be out there in the summer.
We'll keep you guys posted.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good idea, Lucas. Great job.
Thank you. Mike Brown, come on up. Bring your cohorts, except for that guy with the blue vest. Just grab another chair and you guys can share the mics. So when you get set up,
Mike, I'm very sorry. I'm having trouble opening your slide deck. Are you going to be okay presenting? They all have it in front of them.
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to continue to try, but for some reason,
Here,
yeah.
so you have it in front of you and
Yes, everyone has it in front
we've
of
got
them.
it. Oh, everybody had it sent to them. So,
also I have a couple of materials. So,
I mean, it's just like,
we revised the expense slide.
That's okay.
I argued and fought with Jeremy here for weeks and weeks. And finally, he agreed to pay for everything for one fixed price. We have got a great deal for the kids of our community.
Once you get settled, Mike, then just state your name. Everybody can state their name, where they're from, and
Okay, thank you. I'll give it to those who are here.
My name is, is this on? Everybody hear me? My name is Mike Brown. I live in the Arborlee section of the township on 209 Elm Avenue. This is Jeremy Mason. He's representing PATA, who is, we're going to proffer as an organization to run the league we're proposing. And this is Mike Zelgalvis, who didn't think I was going to be able to pronounce his last name, but I've been practicing in front of my dog all week.
just.
Did I get it right, Mike?
It's just DZ.
And Mike is here representing the ultimate community, and particularly, he's the coach of the high school boys team. And our plan includes using some of those kids in a coaching capacity. And Mike is sort of their liaison, and ultimately, I hope when he gets older and I'm tired of running a league, Mike will take over. So I drag him along to all these meetings, and he kind of shakes his head and says, okay, I'll go. So that's the story of us. Now I have a presentation. Do you want me to just go all through that, or have you had a chance to look at it and want to save time by taking a shortcut, or?
Your time here. So, like I said, we probably have like 15, 20 minutes. So
Okay.
whatever you best want to present to the group and overview, like I said, you don't have to go through every slide, but everybody has the presentation.
Okay.
So whatever method you want to take to get through the material.
All right. So let me go through our proposal. It's the second page. I've met with the schools 2 weeks ago, and they are the athletic director and the director of athletic coordinator, Lou Sudholtz and Tom Stoddard. And they really liked the proposal. They completely agreed with everything I was saying, all my propaganda about Frisbee. And they're very open to the idea. They're willing to help us market our league. They're going to push the middle schools to have some Frisbee units this spring, try to get the idea in kids' heads. Our league, when we order our discs for our league with our logo on them, we will also order a big pile to donate to the schools. And that's just, one of our marketing thrusts, because this is a new sport, a new league for the community, and we feel like we have to sell it to get good numbers at the start. So the school side of it is going well. Intramurals is a little trickier because you have to get a teacher willing to work for almost nothing after school for a couple hours a day. So we're going to go to the Teachers Wellness Day in April with a group of us and teach the teachers how to play Ultimate, and hope that one of them likes it so much that they offer to do an intramurals next year. So those first two prongs of the proposal are moving forward as well as I could have hoped. I think we're going to get at least 4 weeks of disc skills and Ultimate in gym classes for 3 years of middle school going forward. And I think that's very exciting. And one of the things I love most about it is that's almost 100% of the eyeballs that we have to market this league to. And so we get a good start there. And then the Makefield Ultimate Summer League, we call it Muscle. We have been building it, hoping that you guys are all going to be amenable to it. We're already doing a lot of stuff, and I've got a website out there, makefieldultimate.org. You can learn a lot about what we're up to by seeing what's on there. Honestly, that's the first website I ever built, and you'll know it. But Jeremy and his team are going to make that better in time. But we're out there already with a page asking for people to coach. We have a plan for coaching, which is a little different than what might be happening, for instance, in soccer, because this is a new sport and a new league. We need parent volunteers to run the teams. There's no question about it. But if parent volunteers think that they shouldn't volunteer unless they know how to play Ultimate, then we're not going to have enough coaches. So we're bringing in these accomplished players, mostly college-age kids, I expect. But I don't have any age restrictions except for that they have to be beyond high school. I think it's a good rule that coaches should be at least 4 years older than the kids they coach. So we're going to bring them in to be sort of the skills coaches. That's what we're calling them. We're going to pay them $20 when they come for an hour and a half or 2 hours to a game. The parent coaches are going to be expected to volunteer like they do for every other sport. We can't have teenagers handling parent complaints and organizing and scheduling and all that. We need this combination. Over the years, as Ultimate becomes more and more entrenched in the community, parents will know how to play and we won't need this structure, but at least to start out. It also is very helpful because the spirit of the game is such an important part of what we're doing. When you look at our brochures, you'll see that our first goal is teach these kids sportsmanship and spirit of the game, because that's a critical underlying fundamental of playing Ultimate well and enjoying it. And, you know, how do you get a bunch of middle school kids, not the easiest kids in the world to deal with, not kids that are usually quick to come to agreement amongst themselves. They like to argue. So how do you get them to think that acting that way is cool? Only by bringing in cool people in their eyes, which would be high school and college age kids that are there saying, hey, you know, we're competitive. We like to play with great intensity. Look at these videos of us diving and throwing our bodies all over the place to play Frisbee. But at the same time, we understand that we can play a lot faster, a lot safer, and have a lot more fun if we take the spirit of the game into account. And the gist of it is, you know, you treat all participants as if they're your friends. You treat them with respect and caring. You don't go risking their health by taking crazy, reckless plays. And when they make a call, you don't start a big argument with them. You ask them what they saw and tell them why you might disagree and resolve it peaceably. It's not all that complicated for us, but for middle school kids, it might take a little doing to learn all this. And I think that the high school kids and the college kids will be better positioned to convince those middle school kids that it's cool, that the spirit of the game is cool. And I believe it is. Mike, do you have anything to say about that?
I will just say,
I don't think so. Just if you could.
Okay. Yeah, the spirit of the game, it sounds very corny, but when you get down to it, it's again how everyone stays safe and how the game stays fun and enjoyable for everyone, and you get less injured and you're able to play longer. Going back to, you want to treat everyone with like they're your friends. I played against my arch rivals in high school, and now they're some of my closest friends that I play Club Ultimate with. So because the community is so small, you kind of do want to uphold a certain standard when playing the game.
I can even expand on that a little bit more from the PATA side. We actually have a lot of different leagues like this middle school league that we offer in Philadelphia and around Philadelphia area. And we're actually a vendor of the school district of Philadelphia right now. We're a vendor for the after school enrichment program, not within the athletics department for the school district, because of what they're calling spirit of the game. At a more school district level, we call that social and emotional learning and conflict resolution. And we're teaching kids how to actually be a better adult through sport. So the sports-based youth development techniques that we're using through Ultimate Frisbee is something that is a foundation in middle school programming and also high school programming. So while we call it spirit of the game, a lot of school districts are using that as a key component of social and emotional learning.
So Mike, Rob and I, you don't need to educate us, and as Mike can tell you, both of our sons are play Ultimate Frisbee a lot, and are acquaintances of Mr. Delgavas. So given the time we have here tonight, and the work that you've done so far from the school district side, which is monumental, and that's the place where you need to start. But for us here, I guess let's get to the point of like, well, so what's the ask of Lower Makefield Township, right? Because we are different than the school district, and so we want to make sure that the folks, our board members that are virtual, also if they have any questions about Ultimate. But at the end of the day, like, how can we help, right? So what's the ask of us and what can Monica and her team and the rest of us do here to help facilitate moving this along, right? Because you're hitting the right angles, but we want to make sure, we're mindful of your time and everybody's time and make sure that,
Real
yeah, you
quick.
can, sure.
I know you mentioned spirit of the game. I certainly am familiar with it, but if you can describe, I know unlike other sports, there's no referees, and how that plays into, especially middle school kids, what that means with the self-refereeing and self-officiating, how that would be beneficial.
Well, if the mechanics of it are that we're going to teach them how to interact with each other when they have a difference of opinion. And we're going to teach, well, I'm not going to, we're going to teach them that, okay, you just maybe caught the Frisbee and landed and one of your feet was inbounds and one was out of bounds. And you know that the one that's inbounds is the one that landed first because you felt that happen. But the guy that's covering you just saw one inbounds, one out of bounds and called you out. I mention this because this actually happened in a game that I watched, but it's a classic situation. And how do you get two middle school kids playing an intense game? Think this is two boys that are, just jumped as high as they could and bumped and banged into each other to try to catch that Frisbee or keep from getting it caught. And they come down and they're in the heat of the moment and it's high game late in the game. How do you get them to stop and think about what they saw and what their own biases are and have a conversation with the other guy about what he saw and what his biases are. And there's a process to teach them. That's all. That's what it is. It's a process. And not every kid is going to do it right every time. And so when you teach them, you also have to teach them that, sometimes you lose your cool and you have to apologize so you can get on with the rest of the game. But the process is, stop and breathe before you say anything. And then think about what you saw. Try to imagine exactly what you saw and experienced yourself. And then think about how important this game is to you and how that might be affecting your call. And now tell the other guy, this is what I experienced, and ask him, what did you see? And listen to him. These are the simple things that, by the way, it probably took me till I was 35 to learn. But this is what we want all our kids to learn. And this is just a great place for them to learn it, because when they see how it works, kids in middle school, more than anything, want to be cool. They want their peers to like them. If we can get a handful of the better players to play with the spirit of the game, then peer pressure starts to work for us. And I think that's in my thing here, one of the writers I quoted in the back, peer pressure is a good thing if you get the kids the right peers. And so that's really kind of why we're bringing a select group of accomplished players in, young accomplished players, high school and college level. And they are going to be the peers that hopefully seed in our league. And then it doesn't take long. And I played ultimate since I was in college, before the spirit of the game had developed nearly as much as it is now. But, people like the spirit. Once they get into it, it's great. Everybody's friends. This is a very social age group. And in fact, the social side of this is an important side of what we're trying to sell to these kids and their parents. And hopefully a very positive environment because of this spirit of the game. So does that answer your question? Because I mean, as Monica will tell you, because she already had to sit through one long meeting with me. I don't stop.
Very passionate.
When I used to work for a living and I do pitches, the marketing guy would sit beside me and pinch my leg when it was time to shut up. So that's, I mean, I can't say enough how valuable the spirit of the game is to the kids that are interested. A kid, once they decide they love this sport and they want to play it, it's not hard for them to progress to embracing the spirit of the game. I think embracing is the right word. It frees them to lay out and to jump as high as they can and not be worried that the other guy is just going to come crashing into them.
So to support Mike and to get back to what you asked, I think what Mike is here today asking for sanctioning for a summer league, here in the township. So it's something that's complementary to the sports we have and activities. Our fields slow down in the summer. Soccer and or football start around August. They're looking for sanctioning, whether we do that at Makefield Park or Memorial Park on the field. We would have to decide that, but that's the ultimate goal of this evening.
And I think we have all the requirements for sanctioning except for the bonding requirement is an open issue.
So it would be up to the board.
That-
It would be up to the board.
The slides you have in front of you on expenses, we have revised. And it's $100 to play for the season. And that's $30 for the fields. Obviously, if it's somebody from out of Lower Makefield, they would be paying 60. And then PATA would be getting paid $64 as a management fee, which includes shirts and discs for the players, shirts for the coaches, all the supplies that teams need, cones and extra frisbees and first aid kits. And yeah, I think we've thought of pretty much everything. And also paying those skills coaches, as I said, $20 a night, which is not a high rate of pay. It's like $13 an hour probably. But I do think they deserve to be paid. And those kids all have the option of just going and playing Ultimate at Mercer County instead of coming here and helping our seventh graders.
Mhm.
So paying them will help us get the good kids.
And Mike, Dennis, Mike, I don't know if Kim's on, if,
Yes,
one second, I'll tell him 1 second, okay. You have any questions from our virtual
yes,
board members?
I have a few questions. First one, simple. What is PATA? What does the acronym stand for?
Yeah, PATA stands for the Philadelphia Area Disc Alliance.
Okay. And secondly, I like the concept of the fair play and teaching that and all, but is disc or is Ultimate always conducted without officials on the field, or at some point do they become part of the game?
Yeah, even the highest level of Ultimate Frisbee, there is no officials. So
There are observers,
there are observers,
but the calls
they
tend to
do
fall
not
to the
make-
players.
They do not make active calls. They make in and out of bounds calls. But the players are the people who make the typical umpiring referee calls on the field.
And given the kind of the age group you're starting with, we were all there at one point, and like the benefit of an official on the field. I'm just thinking of as I was growing up, if something happened, like in the game there was a hotly contested disc and two players ended up rolling on the ground. They came up swinging. I know you'd like that not to happen. I think in the best case, probably the majority of the kids on the field would take care of that by itself. They would separate the combatants if that was the case.
I would not wait for the kids to take care of that. The coaches should be immediately out on the field with any kind of physical abuse, harassment, anything like that.
And then what
goes
happens
beyond
to
the spirit of the game.
ramifications for the players that are involved in those kinds of things? Because when there's an official involved, there's a formal write-up that goes to the league, and there's usually some disciplinary actions that are.
I would hope we wouldn't get to anything like that. I've never seen.
I would hope not either, but what if you do?
Dennis, if I can interject, one of the ways Ultimate's different in a game. So it's almost like your old school pickup basketball, and everybody's calling their own calls. The exception with Ultimate Frisbee is you and I are playing. We both have differing views on the what happened on the play. One of the teaching skills is that discussion back and forth, what the rules were, what you think was wrong, what happened here, whatever. If the two can't agree, then it gets rewound to before that happened, and the Frisbee goes back to the original spot where the throw was. And it's like you start over and it's a do-over. So, I get your, position on not having umpires, referees, everything like that. But, the same thing can be happened in baseball where you get a bad call and then you got the fans, jumping on a 15-year-old umpire, for making a bad call. You know, in this, it's up to the kids and the kids that are on the field, the coaches that are on the sidelines. They're there to assist with the rules and everything like that. But that's one of the benefits of kind of teaching, especially middle school things, is conflict resolution.
No, I definitely, I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
I'm not so much thinking about, a different interpretation of the in or out of bounds or something where you can rewind that. But like, I'm just thinking more like if they ended up in a physical altercation, what are the ramifications?
There's also rules that you know are embed into the rule book about safety. So even if a situation occurred that, fortunately nobody got injured or whatever, the other person could say, hey, you basically lowballed me and took out my legs. That, shouldn't happen or whatever. There's discussions like that, and there are ramifications to that, but it doesn't, in my mind, necessarily need a referee for those kind of things.
Yeah, and just because there's not a referee or an umpire doesn't mean it's unmediated. Coaches
Fair
mediate.
point. Fair point. But I'm just thinking, like, what is the league? Does the league, an organized league, have a way of dealing with it? I think all the other organized sports have a way of dealing with something like that, as opposed to hoping that new teachings, work and are successful.
Well, we have these skills coaches and they will be working the games sort of as observers. So they would be the ones out on the field in a position at that moment to intervene if needed. I hope that doesn't happen. And the adult coaches are the ones ultimately responsible to get out onto that field and deal with a situation like that. Or, I mean, there's a lot of things, there could be bullying and other things going on even away from the Frisbee. You don't see this very often in ultimate.
But at the end of the day, this age group in this league is really instructional, right? So I think, versus when they move up to a feeder program into high school and then college and club and beyond. So I think the crux to this is that are there going to be instances where somebody does something that's inappropriate? Yes, because they're learning, right? And the key is then to teach that, it's no different than in football, baseball, lacrosse, somebody's got a stick in their hand and, they hit somebody the wrong way, or in hockey. And it's like, you can't do that, right? Penalty. But, this part of the sport at this age group is really more about teaching skills and these other life lessons so I agree with you, Dennis. Is there going to be an instance where somebody might do something inappropriate? Probably, but that's where the skills coaches and the parents there, versus a referee, just because the referees don't exist. So,
and I would also point out, in baseball, you have an adult referee. In soccer, oftentimes the referees are just, other kids a couple of years older. And they seem to, now I don't know if it's changed since I coached the YMS, but that seemed to maintain reasonable order on the field also.
Yeah, the point wasn't asking you to include referees. It was more around how you maintain that order in situation when there is, an altercation, for lack of a better example at this point. But it sounds like on the idea of this fair play and all the teaching you do to get them to behave properly, it works. But I don't know if you've ever had incidents like that, and if the league is prepared to handle them. I think all the other leagues have gone through their growing pains as well. So they're able to deal with things like that, whether it's through an official or not. But like, I just want to make sure in this case, you have one less formal authority figure to,
And just to be clear, PATA is kind of like a all-encompassing for the Philadelphia area. So I assume you've had situations where high school kids have, done certain things at tournaments, and there are rules and apparatuses in place to address those situations.
Yeah, we have a conduct system that we uphold all the players to. If anything elevates to the level of like altercations or harassment or anything like that, anything through PATA comes directly through me, through the youth director. And we also have a youth council that is like an advisory council. So whenever there's a situation where I don't feel comfortable making a decision by myself, we go to the advisory council, and the advisory council comes together to make a conclusion and talk with the coaches or teams and sort of see what we need to do to, make the correct call.
That's very helpful. That's what I needed to hear. Thank you. And one last question, Monica, you mentioned this is going to be a summertime application. Like more specifically, which months? Is there going to be overlap with any existing programs?
Well, I mean, if we could just pick whatever we wanted, we would pick the months of June and July, but I imagine there's some sports finishing up in June, and so we would have to coordinate with the Parks Department as to when the fields would be available.
And how many fields would be involved in this?
One field for each 14 kids that registers for 2 nights a week.
What's the field size?
I'm sorry, one field for each 28 kids that registers 2 nights a week. Field side is like a football or a soccer.
70, well, about 120 yards long and 40 yards wide, approximately-ish. So, I mean, it could be modified
Yes.
enough because the kids in middle school level, so.
In fact, I've been thinking that we might actually, for the middle school level, for the sake of scoring, shorten that field up a little bit because the game should run.
We've run plenty of tournaments where we've just put fields
Well,
and we've modified fields. So.
Just for the board's knowledge, last year we did a demo as part of the Art in the Park program, and we had such a great turnout. So people were very excited and asking how they could get involved. So I just want to let you know that there is a bit of a need here in Township, not only as a feeder program to the high school, but people were excited about it when we demoed.
Yeah,
So June and July,
my son did the program last year.
The schools are out. Are the school fields part of the consideration for use?
We're open to whatever fields the township thinks.
We don't
are
control the
best.
school fields, so.
So
That's why
for
I'm
example, yeah, so for example, like the middle school fields that sit between the 3 middle schools, we don't control those, like the Edgewood, the fields that are right behind here, anything that's a school field, you go back to the folks you met with at Pennsbury School District, and they could permit you space. So there are, depending on, and then working with Monica, then we could determine if Makefield or Memorial Park, or again, depending what everybody else is using or how many kids you have signed up will determine how many fields you need. Then we could determine if, what space is available. So it depends, again, what day of the week, like what time, like so that we can coordinate with any of the other organizations that have field usage. Like you mentioned, if you want to start in June and there's some other clubs that are still finishing up, you would know who has permits today.
Sure. George, your rec league, George is here,
I am
just for Jeanette.
Not to put you on the spot, George.
George, your rec leave, when do they wrap up for the year? I know your travel still goes.
Approximately. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think it would be helpful, and maybe just some guidance. You guys check with the school district and see what availability there is, because I think PAA does that. They end up needing both school fields and township fields. At least we used to. I don't know if that's still the
They
case.
used to, I don't know if they do anymore, but.
They use it. They
they
use school
still?
field. So the school district too is going through a lot of construction. So I don't know how much field space is going to be available or they will be in the upcoming future. So I don't know how much field space will be available during that time.
But
I'm-
obviously they need something because they don't want to sign kids up and not know that they don't have a place to
Yeah,
play, right?
yes.
So, for us, Monica has the schedule. She knows what's available. And then at a minimum, she could give you a guidance as to, okay, here's what's available when it would be available until, like, so from if Macclesfield's available starting mid-June and till this date, and these fields are available, or Memorial Park, if obviously that would require a separate vote, I think, to allow usage there.
Yeah, that would be a different ball game.
Right.
Yes.
And then that would probably be,
Or disc game, sorry.
probably a good start there, because then that could give you a sense of what your ask of the school district might be, right? Because if she gives you and says, this is what I could offer you, and if you think that's sufficient, or if you think, well, let me go, no, here's what I know I have, but then I can go to school district and see what else, so that you have a backup plan or something complementary, so I think.
Yeah, I communicate with the fields director for the middle school, so I can reach out to.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
So if you use the township facility, like again, school district facilities are different than, if you don't use any township facilities, I don't know what's applicable and what's not, right? So, but if you use township fields and your league, then you have a different set of guidelines, right?
Yeah, I mean, they'd have to be sanctioned. And now we have been slowly working on updating our league
Sure.
policy. So they just have to adhere to all of our league policies. You would have to vote to sanction them as an official township league also.
And besides using the fields, we're hoping to do a lot of marketing through the schools, and I think we're going to get some good opportunities there, and that's important. But there's also marketing opportunities, it seems like, through your website and through the community in
Mhm.
the township. So that's something we would hope we would get some help with also to help us reach out to the.
Yeah, well, to be honest, we do lightly market for the leagues, but since there are so many leagues, we really have to focus on township business. Yeah. So I mean, then I'd be, you know.
You could probably put a link on the site.
Yeah, there'd be a link on the site. We've mentioned you in our newsletter. You can always purchase a spot to market in the newsletter. Things like that we could do. But as far as social media and those type of things, we try to focus on township business and every once in a while touch league stuff.
Well, put us down for a spot in the newsletter.
Okay.
I don't see social media as being a primary driver of marketing to the middle school kids community. I don't know. Maybe I need to get on TikTok or something.
I know.
I mean, I know
If you can get yourself-
Mike, you need to do, you got to get him to do a TikTok video or
If
something.
you could
right?
get yourself on TikTok, maybe, or Snapchat, maybe. maybe
Yeah, well, that's just,
reach them.
Mike's in charge of all that. I think the best way to reach them.
Probably a
is with
good thing.
posters and with gym teachers.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, when we've reached out, and Mike can attest, I know when we've done some, right before the kids are moving up into high school, right towards the end of the year or right before, you get some flyers sent home, and that's when all of a sudden, assuming they bring them home to the kids, but if you can get things out in the announcements through the school district, because that's where your captured audience is, through them or through the parents.
The PTOs.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I prepared, no, I'll give you these. I feel like we got to sell to the kids and we have to sell to the parents. So I printed up this brochure. I'm the only guy that's read it. So if it's just really embarrassingly bad, just throw it away.
Don't sell yourself short already before you hand them out, Mike. So-
You're really selling it.
Kind of lays out.
Like Monica said, last year, we did a quick skills night, and we had, probably close to 30 kids, and, it wasn't, could have been better, sure, but I think for a first attempt, there was a lot of interest, and the parents that I spoke to were very appreciative and looking for another activity. And again, you got to start somewhere, and so all of us, Rob and I's kids, and Mike goes along with them, they all started off, all playing other sports, and then they proceeded to enter high school, and they're like, we don't want to do baseball anymore or something else, and they were exposed to Ultimate, and they're doing some great things. And like we were talking last week, it's like, who would have thought, right? Our kids would have been, throwing discs 70 yards, playing in pro games, traveling around the world or country, and, playing against some really good athletes that show up from all over the country. So you won't get any pushback from us. So any other questions? So Monica, so what do we need to do as a board? Is there anything specific we need to vote on tonight, or do we
mean,
need
if you wanna
to?
think on it, that's fine too, and wait to vote. But I think what they're doing is looking for sanctioning so they can run a summer league. And I think we'd have to work through some logistics as far as field use.
So I'm fine with that. If someone wants to make a motion to approve sanctioning the MUSL for a summer league opportunity here in Lower Makefield.
I can make that motion, assuming that they've met all the criteria the township has
Right.
for
Mm-hmm.
being a sanctioned league. I would support and oppose or make a
We have a
motion.
motion from Dennis on the table. Anybody want to second it?
I'll second that.
You have a second public comment. I know we had a question on the line. Is somebody still there? If you want to pipe them in.
I don't have any public comment online.
There is one?
There's one.
He's got his hand up in the back there, so. No?
Oh, there is one.
Hello?
Looks like they're in the room with us now.
Good evening. Can you
Hi,
state your
can-
name?
I sure can. My name is Lori Gray, and I am a Lower Makefield Township resident.
Hi, Lori.
And hi, how are you? Sorry, I
good.
couldn't be there in person this evening. Good. I think it was mentioned a little bit. I was wondering where this league was going to be held, and I know that Makefield was one of the potential places. And I just asked that, knowing what we already know about Makefield and the overuse of Makefield, that it not be looked at for this league. I think you also need to remember to take into consideration that that park is adjacent to a residential area as well. So I think we need to always consider the residents in the neighborhood when we agree to do anything at Makefield. But knowing already that Makefield is overused and there's a whole master plan committee, I would just recommend and request that the board consider that very, very seriously.
May I respond briefly?
Understood, Lori. Monica will take into account any field use based on current usage, what space is available. And then based on participant level, we'll determine where the best place for them to utilize the fields. So no commitment's been made tonight, right? This is just an inaugural startup. So we don't really have any head count. But based on the size of the fields, there aren't a lot of choices in the township in terms of space availability to begin with. But given the scope of this sport, that's the kind of the size where it's needed. But everything will be taken into consideration. So I'm sure you can follow up with Monica once she looks at the schedule and where there's availability. So it's not going to be put in on top of fields that are already being used. So be mindful of that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you letting me make my concerns voiced. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks, Lori.
Thanks, Lori.
And I also just point out that Ultimate plays to the edges of the field much more than to the middle. And so it's a natural sport. There's a natural fitting of like a football field and Ultimate. If you alternate the two, instead of just wearing a groove down the middle of the field, which football does, you actually can give that middle a chance to rest while the edges get played more. It's just the nature of the game.
And might I recommend the board will have to really evaluate whether Mac or Memorial would be best fit, knowing that YMS plays until mid-June and LMFA and YMS start up in August. So there's not much of a gap. So we'd have to look at both.
Right. I think you just have to look at what's available and based on registrations and see where it makes most sense.
We're contemplating 8 weeks.
Sure.
All right. Any other questions from anybody while we have the motion? If none, call to vote. All in favor of sanctioning the MUSL for the league in Lower Makefield Township, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? All right, Mike,
Thank you very much.
please keep us posted. Let us know if there's anything else that we can do to help. Michael, don't bug my son.
Before I go, I just want to say thank you to the entire board for everything you do for the community. We have great parks, and I just can't say enough how much I appreciate what you all do.
Thank you. Mike, we'll chat sometime real soon to
Okay, great.
figure things out. Yep.
Bonnie,
Yeah, while Bonnie's coming up, I forgot to ask, maybe you know, Monica, do they require like any special equipment? They don't need goalposts or anything, do they?
just cones and a disc. That's it.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me okay? A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bonnie, I'm still having a PowerPoint issue, so
Okay,
you have one slide. I know you can talk to your one slide.
thank you.
Yeah.
So basically Bonnie Gannon, program coordinator for pickleball, part of the Lower Makefield Parks and Recreation Department. Lots of projects going on between the Scout project and the Frisbee. What I'm going to do is update you. Last time I was here, I updated you in September. This is now February. I'll give you an update. A quick update, we're at 461 members. We're continuing to run sessions all through the winter, except for the snow days. In addition, we did communicate the new 2024 fees to our membership, and we did get a lot of comments, and with Monica's help, we responded to those. Most of the questions were, why such a big increase? It was, large, and we responded to them. Basically, it's to cover pickleball-related expenses, our pickleball app, back-end support, equipment, okay, we need to buy nets, et cetera. And we also add value. We've added additional reserve times. You may recall you approved, we're a self-rated system, but we're going to add duper sessions, which are dynamic universal pickleball rated sessions. And these are where you have a fixed level and you can play with them. Also, I'm hoping to work with Monica and put in additional programming, things like lessons and clinics, and basically offer our members discounts on those. And so I'm trying to do things, within my control, offer a newsletter, et cetera. And so with all of that, we hope to also buy some soundproofing and windscreens. And so we responded to those comments. Relative to what I can do, you may recall that part of the fees, we're moving to a different registration system. Currently, we're on Meetup, and Meetup has a lot of quirks, and it's very unreliable, and it lacks good technical support. Even as a coordinator, I really can't help people out. And so basically, you gave us approval to move to Court Reserve. And Court Reserve is a new registration system. It's used by many pickleball and tennis venues, including their local Mercer Bucks. And in the past month, we've been doing a trial, and Sue Fawcett here in the audience has helped me set it up. She did the portal page, and I did all the back-end support, and we're ready to go. In fact, I had a meeting today with Court Reserve, and they said it's one of the best design systems, ready to go live. The only thing that's holding us up for advertising is just working with Monica and Finance to get the billings tested. So I'm really proud of that. And basically what I did is I set up a demo email, and I tested all the registration application and processes. It has a digital waiver. And I had a couple of early adopters. Some of our users tested it. They said it's very user-friendly, so we're ready to go. But in addition to that, Court Reserve has additional features other than Meetup. We're using it simply to schedule for registrations. But some of the things that I tested, which we're going to turn off, is, as the name suggests, Court Reserve. We could, at any point in time, turn on that feature. And if at any point in time we wanted to start reserving courts, today we have them reserved for the pickleball club, and we reserve by location. But I did test it, and it is possible to, reserve courts, and we could set up discounts for club members, for general public. In addition, last year we ran lessons and we used Community Pass. I set up and tested if we wanted to run additional programming through Court Reserve, we can do that as well and offer discounts. And lastly, one of the future features that potentially we could use is something called wireless locks. Like today, our maintenance crew during the snow has to run around to all the different courts, and they have to physically lock them. Well, I'm not saying we should do this, but the opportunity exists where you could buy wireless locks and put them all on the courts and have the maintenance team just, simply from their little phone or their laptop or whatever, like lock all the courts. And, it might come in handy as well. At Memorial Court, people are coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning, and our maintenance team needs to do weed whacking. And so we want them off of there, and they could, lock the courts. It's just a feature that's available. Those are future features. One of the features right now that I
Can
think
I
will
ask you real quick on that the features that are available, is that they're part of the package that we have?
No.
That would be additional expense that would be incurred?
It would be an additional expense.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
locks for sure. The
Mhm.
reserving of the courts is no additional cost. I just turned that feature off, the
Okay.
reserving of the courts. But the wireless locks, yes, you would have to do that. But, being able to offer a special event is no additional cost. Like if we were to run lessons or clinics, it's just another event. So offering special events, reserving courts is no additional cost right now. One of the features that I really do like about it is chat. It has like an instant chat. Like today with Meetup, I'm not even allowed as coordinator to represent a user and their problems. And in this application, it's just like if you've seen these live chat boxes on anything. I can say, you know, so-and-so's having a user, and in the past month, I've gotten responses no longer than 3 minutes. So it's really great. And if you're an existing court reserve lot, all you have to do is search for LMT and you're up and live. So you can search for LMT at this point in time, and we're live. I just haven't advertised it. And you can join our organization and see the next 3 weeks. So I'm
Are you
really
ready for that, Bonnie?
I'm ready. I'm really, any feedback. I am ready. I am so psyched. Yeah, I am psyched for Court Reserve. Court Reserve. Another thing I'm really psyched about is offering additional special programming with Monica's help. You know, last year we ran lessons. We used a special one instructor, and we filled up overnight, and we had a wait list. And so we offered a second set of sessions, and they filled up. And this year I have a set of people that are still interested, and that was simply lessons. Well, at one of the meetings, somebody ran into one of Monica's employees, and a company called Universal Rackets, which is located in Philadelphia, reached out to us, and Monica and I had a meeting with them. And it's really an up-and-coming company. They offer lots of different programming at 18 different communities, mainly in the main line, Westchester, Phoenixville area, but also down the shore. And in fact, one of their brochures showed, I'm not sure if you ever played pickleball at Sea Isle City, but it shows the bridge, and I rent there. So I did call the Sea Isle City Recreation Board, and they gave me some feedback. They really gave a thumbs up. They've been using Universal Rackets for the past 3 years at for adult and children's leagues. So we got a proposal from Universal Rackets, and includes not only lessons, but also a lot of different a la carte menus, so to speak, and they're willing to do it at our fee structure that was defined. So, you know, they're offering a pickleball palooza from 9 to 12, in which case they'll actually tape the additional 3 tennis courts at Memorial Park, bring in 6 pickleball nets, and, you know, have capability for 10 courts, and offer prizes and games and things like that. And that would be a kickoff for our season. There's additional programming available for what I'm really hoping we can do is cardio pickleball. Okay, they have a cardio pickleball clinic, and they have lessons and clinics and skills and drills for beginners, intermediates. We didn't ask for advanced, but maybe we should. In addition, you heard about the ultimate frisbee for middle schoolers. They also have a program for tweens, children from, and they also have one for elementary school, but we decided to, you know, ask them more about their tweens. So for children 5 to 8, they're offering after-school pickleball clinics. So they have a variety of things to offer, and I want to work with Monica to select the appropriate programming. Spring is right around the corner, and I really would like to work with Monica to define what we want to offer. And they also have defined an end-of-the-year tournament. It would be an all-day thing. Of course, it's all pay, you know, it's all user-funded, but has lots of games and points and things like that. So I'm really enthused about it. I've done a lot of research. I've got good feedback from them, and you know, they are based in Philadelphia. Primarily, their communities that they serve are down the shore in Montgomery County. They don't have a venue yet in Bucks County, but they do have 18 communities, so I'm really psyched about that. Basically, you know, would help increase the revenue. It would be good for our community as well as our club. You know, if we could offer additional programming for the club, you know, that would be another value-added benefit for the fees that's being charged. The last thing I wanted to just bring to your attention is not an ask this time, but maybe the next meeting is to consider what we should do about all of the outside groups there that are using our courts. You know, there's one group that's up to 177 members, and they're scheduling like every other day, 2 hours at Memorial Park. And while the weather is not so, you know, nice right now, I can just envision when the warmer comes, just half of those people show up, you know, we could have, you know, mass confusion. And really, to be honest with you, you know, those larger groups are violating our codes and our ordinances. I mean, you know, Ordinance 141, I know when I came before the board 10 years ago, I only had 12 people in pickleball. And I was forced to, you know, pay your fees, get a certificate of insurance, et cetera. And yet, you know, groups are now, you know, just scheduling on their own little apps, use of our facilities. And so it also leads to frustration by our residents. Our residents see, and basically the club is, I'm not scheduling a whole lot at Memorial Park, because we were saying it was going to be easy. I have 2 or 3 sessions and we run lessons. most of what's being used is by these clubs and also by the, by the just general public. So our residents are getting frustrated. They think, that it's the club, using the courts, when actually it's just a variety of different clubs that are using it. And I actually did a peek at, the sessions that these clubs are running, at least a particular one, 2/3 are non-residents, and sometimes it's 50%, but the majority of the club members and the people who are attending those sessions are non-resident. And so
If I can just add, they're not clubs. They're just people who
They're
create
organized
their own little
groups.
group, but they're not a club. So they're not like, this is
okay.
pickleball club X, right? They're just a group of people that create a group on Team Reach and then they schedule time. So, because I'm guilty of that, but it's not necessarily, but we play at different places and that's based on availability. So I mean, when we built the Memorial Park and we decided that they would be open, majority of the time would be open to the public, which is what they are, right? So they're scheduling times when it's public time. Is it a problem? Probably. It's that we have to figure out a solution to that, but they're not clubs, right? They're in that sense that your club is a club, right? So just keep that in mind. They're not paying dues, they're not fees, they're not associated with anything. They're loosely rogue groups that travel around. They're band of pickleball gypsies per se and just play where they can find available courts because they're just the demand versus supply is and there's probably people in those groups that belong to Lower Makefield Pickleball, right? So it's just the nature of the way it is today. So
Yeah, but if it's organized, Doug, I'd say you call it what you want, but it's an organized group, so they probably do have to follow some of the regulations of the township for their own clubs.
Thank you. And some of the groups are up to 177 members, and just to have half of those people show up, there's no wait list on that Team Reach app. I'm just saying.
yeah, well, Team Reach is only it's just an app that gets a bunch of people together and say, hey, we're going to meet here. It's just not anything more formal than that.
So the truth is, Doug, by leaving it open, we could have 5 groups of 50 scheduling open time at the court and they all show up at the same time. And then they all argue over court space. I mean, this is happening where we have 2, 3 groups, Team Reach groups or whatever, who think the time is open.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
We
It's
just need to get a control of
that
our.
our
courts.
they don't have, it's public, we treat it as public time, so you have to figure out what's the right way to address that because they're showing up at where it's open to the public.
Yeah, I mean, there are opportunity maybe for us to use the app to reserve, even if it's just open for free, right? But at least people are reserving time and we have control, or we can reserve it like we do a pavilion or volleyball or any of the other courts.
Yeah, we just have to just agree how
that
we're going to
is.
handle it because we left them open specifically. So if Mr. and Mrs. Smith and they want to bring their 2 kids and they're like, hey, I just got some new paddles. I bought at Target. I want to go play pickleball. If that's what the purpose was there to leave them open. So that, because I go there at times and there's a lot of families that show up and people just come but I will agree. There's a lot of people that have set up the Team Reach and.
Monica, do you know what other townships and communities, I'm sure that this isn't a unique problem to us, how they may be dealing with it?
I don't think anybody's come up with a good solution yet. I'm hoping that we could be an industry leader in this one because we were the first to install dedicated pickleball. We've been living this longer than other townships. Middletown just installed theirs. Falls Township is working on installing theirs. So we've been the leaders really in pickleball. And we just need to come up with what is our solution to this pickleball problem. It's not a problem in other sports, but for some reason pickleball this is happening for pickleball.
No, you go over to Mercer County over Veterans Park, right? But they have a lot more courts. They do charge a fee for a season. But they also have a lot of people that have a Team Rouge groups and they go over there and they play. But they do have, you pay $60 or $50 for the season if you're a Mercer County resident or $75 if you're not, and you have a little tag. I know down in Ocean City, New Jersey, where I play, it's $60 for the season, and they have similar sessions where you have to sign up. So if you don't sign up via those sessions, then it's a walk-on. Somebody's physically because it's a summer town, but someone's physically there and they're paying $5 for a daily pass, you know.
A daily pass. Yeah, I mean,
But we
there's-
don't have we don't have the bandwidth to have somebody sitting at the court saying, if you want to play, it's $5, right?
So, I mean, I think what Bonnie was saying is we're not sure that this is a today, we're going to figure this out today. The idea today is to bring this problem to the board because ultimately the township is getting blamed and we're being told that we're reserving all this time out there. We're not. And we have no control over what's happening out there. People are coming at 6 a.m. and playing, and the people who live there are listening to ding, 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 ding at 6 a.m. in the morning. Our maintenance staff can't get on the courts, you know, to weed whack when they need to. Bonnie brought that up. So we just need to figure out a way that we can get a handle on the reservations or how we manage time out there because
Well,
we have a
Mark, we could-
pickleball problem.
Some of those things seem pretty simple. We could just like not allow the course to be used before a certain time and post that. And then you could also set time limits on people that are playing with open time. You know, when you have a club that's been sanctioned and they're given a permitted time, they can use that permitted time as they wish. But when there's open time, I think time limits would be a useful way of making sure some rogue group doesn't come in and just monopolize the courts. And by the way, Doug, why did they buy their rackets at Target?
Say that again?
Why did they, that in your example, why did they buy the rackets at Target?
I don't know. I'm just an example.
Oh,
Target, Dick's, anybody, you know.
Okay.
I mean, I saw them at Target the other day. They
Oh,
Starter family, you're not going to spend $250 for, it's not a racket though, it's a paddle.
So in summary, I'm really excited about Court Reserve and the additional programming. And then next meeting, I'll come back with some solutions to try to manage those excess groups.
If I could ask one thing of you is what success is going to look like, right? So I know Monica mentioned about Universal, so I asked a few people and I know you've met with them, so I don't disagree with what feedback you've got, but I would ask two things: is what is general success going to look like for you at the end of the season for instituting these programs? So what's your measurement? So at the end of the day, we move to court reserve, we do all these other things. What does success look like? And then secondly, by using the third party, the contractor you're going to use, what does success look like for them? Like, how are you going to?
So we have metrics for that
Right,
already
so-
through our program management plan. So
I'm
we
just,
would
I'm
use
just
that
asking, so
as our,
at the end of the day, so when you're done evaluating them,
Mhm.
like upfront, understanding what are the things you want to measure, so then at the end of the season, when you're done and we've paid them X amount and they've done anything, like what is it that, did they meet the criteria? Were you happy with, like,
Yeah, set some Monica says she
Yeah.
has criteria and we meet them and the, you know, success for Court Reserve.
well, just in general, all the things you're implementing, like what upfront, like what is it? So when you come back, you can say this worked, so you know, like, okay, we're not going to repeat this, or we're going to do something different. So
that's why we
Yeah.
have Capra, right?
I'm just reinforcing all the good work that we did, right? Because sometimes we do all this stuff and then at the end of the thing, we're like,
Yeah, so we can consider, you know, just for accreditation, we should be having a pilot program every year. This could be considered our pilot program using the third party, the membership, and we'll see how it goes. Last year we did CITs. The year before that we did tween camp. So we've been doing something every year. I think pickleball is a good thing to tackle. Everything we've done pickleball overflows. So I think there's a real demand here in the township for pickleball.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Yeah, we have a public comment, Doug.
we do have public comment.
Mhm.
Hi, I'm Sue Fawcett on Sandy Run Road. Actually, I am active, very, very passionate about pickleball. I am helping Bonnie in the township. I'm the one of the meeting coordinators for the advanced group, and I play every day. And first of all, I'd like to say there are 400 members in the Middletown Township Team Reach app. So to give you guys an idea of the scope of the problem, but let me just tail end onto that because part of that is controlling access to the courts. And as the person who's there every day, it is very, very, it's very frustrating if I have to control access as a volunteer. That's something that I believe is outside the scope of what I should be able to
Wouldn't
do.
be.
Okay, but
Wouldn't be your responsibility, be Bonnie's responsibility.
I mean, to be the person there who has to tell somebody to leave.
Mm.
That is, I do not wish to encounter that frustration. It can be intimidating. I'd rather let people play and then we'll deal with it later. So that's part of the problem is the boots on the ground who has to do the enforcement. So you can control access to the township, maybe locked in area, but outside in the other courts like Cardinal Drive or Riviera Road, it's a very different situation. So we can discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, we just had that sample issue. I don't even know if you were there where people showed up at the same time as our advanced players were
Yes.
playing. They brought it.
I've heard.
It was,
We had a little discussion last week when that happened.
it was a
Yes.
thing.
Yes, I was actually there when that occurred. And my decision was to let it go because we had plenty of room and they were very well qualified to play there. It was
Right.
just a matter of scheduling and time. Okay, and they didn't want to mix with the group. So that's fine, that happens. Okay, so now let me move on and let me start spending some of your revenue. One of the main, as a passionate pickleball person, in addition to what Bonnie's doing, which is fantastic, I look at the facility. And what I see in comparison to other townships, we're not that great. Like Middletown Township just put a brand new court lit, very nice surface, and we don't have that. And it's my goal at least to get there somehow. I know we have courts here at the township. There's been talk. We are strapped for funding. I know there's no funding, but I'd like to see if there's a path we can do to get there. Say pickleball is a year-round sport. I'm playing every day unless there's either snow on the court or it's actively raining. I play now. I walk by the tennis courts. They're empty. If we had those lined for pickleball, they'd be full today. So I'm saying I'm trying to address a capacity issue, and it all boils down to funding, and this is infrastructure. It is, it's not quite it is used by Parks and Rec, but I mean, funding and everything is from the general funds.
Yeah.
Or not, okay, but, okay. So either way, I know there's, okay, let me move on, but they say we're not competitive. The courts we're playing on now are not in that great shape and very aware, well, also card reflections, some issues with the layout, lots of things going on. And what I like to do is try to find a way. And if we can maybe independently funding, I mean, there's grant money, federal, local, state, whatever. You can have corporate sponsorship. I want to open the discussion. It is a difficult problem. And right now it's like, no, we can't do this. But I like to turn that no into a yes. And with a plan, a timeline, scope of the project, budget, cost, scheduling, all that kind of stuff. So I'd like to start that process. So I'll work with Monica. I will work through Bonnie. And I just want to make that point known that I am concerned and I represent a lot of players because I'm there every day. When we heard about the fee increase, the first question is, what am I getting for my money? And it was not the services. It was, we're playing on crappy courts. That is by far the number one response. Then it's services. So I want to address that formally, and I would like to see something happen. The courts, the tennis court. I walk by the Schuyler Road tennis courts, beautiful, redone. It's not lined for pickleball. It's empty. I could play there today. So okay, that's all. I think that's all I want to say. But I'd like to set a date or do something with Bonnie and Monica to see about funding. I understand it's difficult. I understand finance. I understand where you're coming from, but I'd like to get something done.
I appreciate your passion. You're not the first person that's expressed some of these, and Monica can attest. I've been
Yes.
chirping in her ear for a couple of years,
Yeah.
but yeah, continue to work through Bonnie and Monica.
Yeah.
And these are some things that, again, you've heard the township with finances, et cetera, and it's not like we can just snap our fingers and do it, but it's definitely.
Well, I try to say, I believe I represent a number of players. I mean, I could probably ask people to show up for the board meeting and express their opinion, but let's try and focus on this. So,
And if I could just address one of the things you started out with, you mentioned spending the revenue that we're having. And I take issue with that because I don't think there's revenue to be had that we're not spending.
okay, I was trying to just say, if we're talking about generating revenue, say I'm going to spend something to get this done. Okay.
The membership dues, and Bonnie, I can't recall, Monica, maybe that $27 has been in place for how long? At least 4+ years. So, given cost increases and whatnot, no different than we've taken all of our other programming, we've had to raise fees accordingly. And so pickleballs remain relatively affordable, right? $27 for a 12-month membership isn't really, so even if that has gone to 60, right, for 120 for a resident, you're talking, if you play every day, you do the math at $10 a month, right?
$10 a month, but
Right? If you went to Mercer Bucks, you'd be paying,
that plus $20 an hour.
yes.
But
When you talk about the value equation, right?
Yeah,
So
but-
I don't disagree. And that's why a lot of people are on Team Reach, because they don't want to pay fees. So they
well, not quite.
jump around and play where they can for no cost. So.
Well, not quite, because the first, a lot of, some people said that it's really not the cost. It's the principle, the idea that it's a 4 times increase. It's the print. They said, what are we getting? So they will pay it, but based on principle of what we have now, they're willing to pay the fee because, and accept, they'll pay the $27, accept the low quality.
Right, I understand. I understand. Cardinals got some serious cracks in there. Memorial Park could have been done better, and yes, and then there's an issue with supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
So, if there were more courts available, which gives them the opportunity to play more, then it's a better value for that increase. So,
Yeah, okay, I'm just trying, yeah.
yep. So,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're not doing the tree planting, so we got liaison. Any George? I see George here. Anybody? Come on, George. Your time's up now.
I thought we were gonna let George go first next time.
Oh, that's okay. I'd stick around anyway. It's all good. So, George Schliebman, 1035 Harbor Drive, and the president of YMS. I'll be brief. Busiest spring planning right now, and a big piece of that we are looking at are things we can do still to alleviate Makefield Park, even though it won't be as busy in the spring, but try some new things out in the spring so that we're ahead of the game getting to the fall when it's busier, to see there's different ways to schedule and use facilities overall. We are also, sorry guys, lost my phone. There we go. We are also starting our first time I've ever tried this is, well, as far as I know some of you guys have been invited, but YMS a long time, longer than I have. But we're trying to do our first ever, to my knowledge, YMS Players Board.
What is it called? YMS?
The YMS Players Board, yeah. And
Players Board, okay.
And we have asked our kids who are currently playing at YMS to essentially, if they want to mirror the board we have today and kind of learn what it's like to kind of run a youth sports organization and learn kind of what goes into it and get some experience and help with the marketing and do those types of things. And so we're excited to get that going. That's being run by Reza Magadam. He was formerly on our board he ran a rec program for 6 years, and now it's a passion project of his that he's taking on for organization. And the final thing we have is YMS Gives Back. It was a pretty neat thing that Maureen McGordy, our secretary, did last year, spearheading in our community outreach, and where we went around to several of the local township organizations, fire, police, all that, and dropped off some good stuff for them. That'll be happening sometime in the next couple of weeks as well. So be on the lookout for that.
So with those, I don't know where you and Monica and Chief Calusi netted out with the parking arrangement after the fall. Like, is there a plan, Monica, for the start of the spring in terms of traffic flow for Makefield, or is?
I think we all agree that it needs to happen, but as far as it actually happening, it did not happen fully last year, partially.
I know you tested a couple of days on different things, but I guess my question, is there a plan in place to get together prior to the season starting to put something like, I know it's not a permanent.
Actually,
temporary.
maybe Monica can talk a bit. Like, I think some of the things we're doing might alleviate that.
With the scheduling, you mean?
Potentially.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was just
with
more of a follow-up, because I know
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
couple of things going on and you did move some things, but knowing that the season's going to start, like, why, if you can get the communication out and why wait, like if you guys have aligned to something but if you think scheduling alone is going to create
I don't know the answer.
Safer,
I don't know the answer. I think it's going to take everybody chipping in at that park, not just YMS, I would say, but.
Right, but
I think-
football is not in the
Yes.
spring, right?
And I think that takes a lot away, but I think, so that's why, but I think we're going to try, and because it was that timepiece, so we're going to try
Sure,
some different things with our scheduling to see, will that help us out as we get to the fall?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it was just more proactive.
But yeah, Monica, we're close on it, but it's on my list to contact Monica to say, here's what we're thinking of doing. Should be exciting.
Hey, George, that players board sounds like a really good idea. Where do you guys have your meetings now?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Where do you guys, I like that idea of the players board. I think that's a really cool idea. Where do you guys have your meetings now?
I didn't hear his last sentence.
I know it's.
Where do you have your meetings?
Oh, so we haven't gotten that together yet, but we would probably do it either, well, another thing I had to talk to Monica about, like, it'd probably be best because of the kids is to use the township buildings would be a great place for it, for them to do that. Our meetings rotate between, our general membership meetings rotate their location depending on the weekly basis and virtual. So, but I think anything we would do, because most of the kids would want to do it are in the township or Pennsbury School District, we do it, those meetings somewhere there.
And one other thing, I don't know if the club has any thoughts around programs that could leverage the upcoming World Cup, given that the U.S. is hosting, or one of the host countries now. Or if there's programs that you would consider just to kind of like latch on and share the excitement around the world with soccer.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, we get excited for those, right? Especially when it's here in America, it's gonna be awesome. The United States can be awesome. And there's a lot that comes about over the next year will come about from Eastern Pennsylvania youth soccer, right? They're going to give us a bunch of hopefully opportunities for our kids and township, and we'll see what comes of it. But we're very engaged in trying to get people excited about that, because as anytime that kind of thing happens, certainly there's a lot of people that engage in youth sports when something like that occurs in your country.
Yeah, cool. Good.
All right, any other questions for George? All right.
No, Bonnie, thanks for keeping the numbers up. I keep telling my wife it's full, so she can't participate. So thank you for doing that. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
All right, Monica, director's report.
Okay, so we have so much going on, but I'll keep it fine-tuned to the few things I have on the agenda. 5 Mile Woods project, the parking spots have been paved. This week, my staff completed the walkway to the entrance. So now from the parking lot, you can now get to the entry pad for 5 Mile Woods. So that's the next step, which is very exciting. All the supplies are in place to install the trail, and we will be doing that during the March workday, which is, I think it's the first weekend in March, which I'll be posting that on social media. We will need volunteers, lots and lots of volunteers. So YMS. All right, great.
There's still that high school, is there still that youth council?
Yep, our youth committee will be invited. They'll help us rally. They were supposed to have a meeting tonight, but it was canceled. So I'm hoping that they will help us with this project too. I'm going to reach out to a couple scout groups and things like that, so we can try and get as many people without overcrowding, because we're going to have to hike sections of the trail back into the woods in order to get it all together. And it's a little bit of a stretch we're trying to finish up here. So very excited about that project. The Heacock Tot lot, over the summer, the equipment was cleared from the Heacock Tot lot. So we are ready for the new equipment to arrive. So that's supposed to happen, I believe now March 9th, end of February, early March. So look out for that. If you have kiddos that you're looking to get out to some new equipment, we'll be doing a little bit of a grand opening for that. So as far as the Makefield Park study, everything we've done is online on our website and on our Zen City app. You can view on both. We will be doing an open house on March 26th from 6:30 to 8:30. I invite the park board, the EAC, the Disability Advisory Board, all of the community to come and participate. They are going to spend 15 minutes on introduction of the goals and objectives, not objections. well, maybe some objections. 45 minutes of presentation overview of the planning process. And then after that, there'll be a 60-minute time period where there'll be 4 community input stations for individual comments and suggestions. I highly recommend you come. This has been a 1-year-long process so far. We've really gone through a lot of feedback from the committee. We've had youth focus groups, senior focus groups. We've had neighbors focus groups. We've done interviews, I believe, with 10 different key people. We have a really great steering committee comprised of league leaders, neighbors, playground enthusiasts, such a great group, a naturalist. So it's a really exciting process, and I really like for you guys to take and interact with the materials that we have online. So if you Google LMT Play for All Planning, it's one of the projects on there, or you can in Zen City find our account and look for us there. So very cool, lots of information out there. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the pool. So our pool number so far this year, just want to get the right thing. Our pool numbers so far, as far as the 11th day of registration for 2024 was the amount of $229,065 with a membership at $1,500. Last year at the same time, we had membership 1,143 and our balance was 127,160. So we've done a really great job. We actually had a record opening day of registration where we nearly tripled the amount of a first day of registration that we've ever had, which is phenomenal. We've been working very hard. Each account we get, we have to go into, check that they have all their credentials, check that they paid. So we have to touch every single account that comes in. And then when we receive their paperwork, we have to touch those accounts again. So it's really a lot of back end work that we do for the pool. I'd like to really thank my staff because everybody has been working as a team. We're doing this and camp registration at the same time, and it's been a whole lot of work. So my staff has been amazing. Particularly Samia answering the phone, talking about every single fee increase that we have. So she's a real superhero lately. So really wanted to thank them. As far as summer camp, I'll start with tween. This year hold on, is that Camp LMT? This year for tween, we really had a much larger response than we ever have had historically. So I had to expand it. So you're seeing here wait list. So it's a 4-day report. We made $36,098. I think that an amount today was up to about 50,000. And we're averaging about, I would say 50 kids per week. So that was this year. And last year we were at 28,000 and we were averaging only 25 kids per week. So the average is larger now because I expanded the wait list. So that's that. For summer camp, this year we did the same. We were near full. We did expand it. So historically, we only accepted about 60 kids in the beginning. This year, we accepted 160. So far, last year we had a revenue on day 4 of 99,000. We have about 140, or we had 60 kids per week with the waiting list all the way through. This year, we registered, we have about 145, 150, 155 per week. And we average, or our amount that we registered was 224,262. So you can see we're on fire for camp. Our camp is well sought out. So just wanted to.
So is the regular camp already waitlisted then?
No, but we did expand it quite
Okay,
a
so
bit.
it's not, it's not.
We have
full.
1 week, we're 5 away from waiting lists. And then most other weeks we have about 10 away from waiting lists. So 10 spots left. So that's that. And then just to give you programming numbers for the winter, so December to February, we did 261 registrations and 17,579 in revenue. So that was just the winter months. So I just wanted to share all those numbers with you. One thing for the pool that I do want to mention is that our beloved Caitlin is leaving us. She got a really amazing job out west. She'll be covering the West Coast for athletic complex. She's going to be a national aquatics director. It's a pretty cool job. I'm very happy for her, but very sad for us. So she's going to transition with us over the next couple months as she's not moving right away. So she'll be able to give us some time to help us transition. So hopefully we can get someone into that role as soon as possible. So that's that. And we're finishing up the interviews for program manager. We have a top 2 and we'll be hopefully wrapping that up by the end of this week. So that's all I have. If anybody has any questions about anything, I'd be glad to cover.
Anybody online? Kim, Michael, or Dennis, or the other Michael? Any questions for Monica?
No questions, but that's amazing. Those are fantastic numbers.
We've been busy.
Yeah, thank you, Monica.
Any other public comment? If none, do we want to have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.